This is CBC Here and Now.
An RNC officer on trial facing a charge of obstruction of justice related to a traffic stop.
A traffic stop that was caught on camera. Mark Quinn has details from court.
And snow day for the West Coast and parts of Labrador. A major storm slams the province.
And the timing couldn't be better for Marble Mountain.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Debbie Cooper.
And I'm Anthony Germain. A criminal trial for a St. John's police officer who has been in the news before started in provincial court this morning. RNC Constable Joe Smythe faces a charge of obstruction of justice related to a traffic stop that he made in 2017. Now,
that same year, a judicial inquiry concluded Smythe used appropriate force when he fatally shot Don Dunphy in his Mitchellsbrook home. Here Now's Mark Quinn has more.
Constable Joe Smythe was in provincial court today. The first witness on the stand was Saeed Husseini. Smythe issued motorcycle driver Husseini 4 traffic tickets on May 12, 2017. One ticket was for driving through a red light, but dashcam video from Husseini's motorcycle shows the light was green when he drove through an intersection on Torbay Road. All 4 tickets were later dismissed in court, and Husseini filed a complaint about Smythe. Smythe's lawyer, Jerome Kennedy, says that after seeing the video, Smythe doesn't dispute the light was green. He says Smythe made a mistake. But the Crown's lawyer disputes that. He's arguing Smythe knew the light was green and gave Husseini a ticket anyway. Smythe says that a month before tickets were issued, a driver speeding on a similar-looking motorcycle evaded police after a pursuit. Husseini said in court that he was not that driver. Under cross-examination, Kennedy's trying to establish that Husseini regularly speeds and is a dangerous driver. Husseini said he did drive his motorcycle home that day, even though Smythe had just given him a ticket for a defective tire and told him not to drive the bike home. But the Crown questioned if this is relevant to the obstruction of justice charge that Smythe is facing. Smythe's criminal trial is scheduled to continue for 2 more days. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
A snowstorm hit the West Coast and parts of Labrador today, but that didn't stop some people from enjoying the weather. Here Now's Colleen Connors joins us live tonight from Corner Brook. So Colleen, how is the weather right now?
Sorry, Debbie, I seem to have lost you there, but I just want you to see the blustery evening that we have on the West Coast tonight. I really had to plant my feet, actually, because, you know, it's just so windy out here tonight. Wind chills all day, really chilly, lots of snow in the air, and that meant for difficult driving around Corner Brook all day today. Even the schools were closed all day because of this horrible windy weather. Take a look at what it was like on the West Coast today. You can barely make out Corner Brook with all the wind and snow. The city saw another 10 centimeters today with heavy gusts making it feel like -16. No wonder schools like Corner Brook High were closed for the day. As soon as Elise Adams heard the words snow day, well, she came straight here.
Well, we got a lot of snow, so it's like really powdery, but it is really cold up there.
Not cold enough to keep skiers and riders away for the 3rd day in a row.
Most of them are open. I went down Tuckamore Tangle a few times, and that's all that I did.
And what's that like?
It's really good. It's like kind of in the woods, so it's like powdery and like it's not groomed or anything.
Only 1 lift is open, but skiers can access most of the slopes once on the top. A couple hundred braved the winds today, but that doesn't beat the thousands that came out for Marble's opening weekend.
This is pretty much as good as it gets for us. We were prepared to go on Boxing Day, but unfortunately Mother Nature, sometimes, as you mentioned, she has other plans. So when we were finally able to open up on January 5th with 90% of our mountain, most skiers actually were very surprised with the amount of terrain that we did have open. So there was no congestion for the most part. Everybody kind of spread out and had a great weekend, I must say. We were really pleased.
If the weather continues this way, well, Marble Mountain is sure to have a good season, and maybe even some more skiing snow days for students in the future. And don't those students just look like they're having the best day just when they were supposed to be back in class today too? They're so lucky. So I have to wonder, and I thought I'd ask Ashley this if she's there. Ashley, I'm wondering, are these students going to get another snow day today or tomorrow, I should say, or what? I mean, the wind is still picking up. What are we in store for later this week?
Well, it does look like things will clear out tomorrow, which is good news if you have to dig out. So unfortunately not a snow day, but chilly temperatures will continue. So that's good for snowmaking if that's what's going to happen. But if we take a look at some of the pictures that were sent in today, this is a car. You can't see it, but it is a car, and that's the snowblower in Angley. And then we're seeing similar things happening through parts of the Northern Peninsula as well. It's not going forward, but we are seeing the Northern Peninsula, a number of pictures very similar to this. We saw high wind gusts today, upwards of about 118 kilometers per hour. Now, the good news is things will start to taper off as we head through the night tonight. We're eventually going to see some clearing as a ridge of high pressure moves in, which means things are going to get quite cold again. And then midweek, it looks like another storm moves in. More snow for most of Newfoundland. The Avalon looks like we could see some freezing rain and rain, but I'll have all those details when I come back in a little bit.
Well, lots of smiling faces are here tonight as the first ever inclusive squash program in Canada takes off. Participants are just warming up now. In a couple minutes, the opening ceremonies will start.
Police are still investigating a crash on Friday at a car dealership in St. John's. A car smashed through the front window of the Hyundai dealership on Kenmount Road and pinned an employee to the floor. The RNC says the 27-year-old man was taken to hospital to be treated. He was then released. A source tells CBC that 2 women were inside the car that crashed through that window.
Newfoundland and Labrador Alliance is traveling around trying to gain support. The province's newest proposed political party held a town hall in St. John's Saturday.
We are an alternative, we believe, that can work in Newfoundland and Labrador.
The group is selling itself as something different, as a collaborative alternative. Graydon Pelly, the man behind NL Alliance, took questions over the weekend. He says he has about half of the 1,000 signatures needed to register his group as an official party. And he's confident he'll get the rest, despite a smaller than expected turnout.
The greatest success would be to be elected and become government of Newfoundland and Labrador. That would be the top prize, but it's about building the alliance. It's about getting people together and getting people represented and letting people know that real change is coming for them and their voice is being heard and they're important.
In national news now, Saskatchewan's premier has offered a formal apology for his province's role in the 60s scoop.
I stand before you today to apologize. I stand before you today to say sorry. We are sorry for the pain and the sadness that you have experienced.
Now, the crowd that packed the legislature included many of the survivors. About 20,000 Indigenous children across Canada were seized from their birth families and relocated to non-Indigenous homes. The practice started in the 1950s and continued into the 1980s. And many of those children were stripped of their language, culture, and any ties to their surviving families. The Premier also thanked adult survivors for sharing their stories and pledged that Saskatchewan will not forget its history.
Many of the survivors of the 60s scoop have mixed feelings about today's apology. Survivor Raven Sinclair has done extensive research on the subject at the University of Regina. She's hoping the apology will be a bridge to recovery for those who need help.
Now people have no idea what this Indigenous child welfare system, the 60s scoop, was all about. And so it's, in some ways, it's nice to have that recognition because, hopefully that's what that will translate into is some sorts of supports and services for people to recover.
After a day of searching, Ontario Provincial Police have recovered the body of a 31-year-old man from Mississippi Lake. 2 vehicles broke through the ice early yesterday morning in separate incidents. When police arrived, an ATV was partly underwater and the other vehicle was fully submerged. Police say the deceased man was from a community in the area. They have not released his name. One other person is being treated for hypothermia.
Well, there's some amazing dash cam video of an accident in Corpus Christi, Texas. Early on New Year's Day, a driver going the wrong way hit this vehicle, causing it to flip on its side and catch fire. The driver going the wrong way was killed, but the 70-year-old behind the wheel of this vehicle was saved, thanks to police and other motorists who stopped to help. And as you can see, they managed to roll the burning car upright and then drag the driver out. Well, organizers are calling a new sports program groundbreaking. Canada's first inclusive squash session is getting underway in Conception Bay South. The program is aimed at people with physical and mental disabilities and encourages participants to get active and have some fun. Here now's Meg Roberts joins us live from the squash courts. Meg, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, well, I'm at the CBS Recreational Complex here, and there's a lot of sweaty people, a lot of very happy people here as the first inclusive squash program in Canada takes off. And like I said, they're going to have an opening ceremony starting. They're just starting to warm up now. And this is what the players have expected for tonight. So they're going to learn some basic rules, how to hold the racket, what the lines on the court mean. And although the program is starting with the basics, there are high hopes it will change the international squash scene. Squash Canada says it's considering squash as a Paralympic sport, so these sessions will act as a valuable research. And I spoke with both the local organizer and the international delegate for Squash Canada, but what this all means for the region and the country.
Doing some research across the world to all my colleagues, and I reached out to Australia, to Norway, to Belgium, to England, to Hong Kong, even to U.S. squash, and they all said they'd thought about it, but nobody had done it. So we're pioneering here, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then you're moving your head. It's huge. I'm challenging the rest of Canada and the U.S. and the rest of the world to follow the line. We're going to try and put together a little cookie-cutter Bible for everybody, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. But it's groundbreaking. It's groundbreaking, and it's the self-esteem it can do to somebody that thought that they couldn't do something is amazing.
How does it feel being the first inclusive squash program in Canada? That's a pretty big accomplishment.
I'm surprised. I just thought I was doing a good deed. I had no idea that this wasn't elsewhere. You know, I was just saying to the kids that I know and some others I don't know, saying, here's an opportunity, come and try it.
That's it. There you go.
I am the head coach of a Special Olympics softball program. And when I considered my background for 20 years teaching squash, the kids I had in the Special Olympics softball program, I knew I could teach them how to play squash. So all they got to do is come out here too.
Why is squash a beneficial activity for people who have a disability?
Squash is a great physical exercise. And some of the kids that I have in my softball program need to work on their conditioning. Squash will certainly do that for them. And squash has been determined by Forbes magazine to be the healthiest sport in the world. So I'd love for the kids to come out and just see that I can do this.
What are you hoping they get out of this?
I'm hoping they enjoy to play squash, because squash is such a fulfilling game. The ball comes back at you so quick, it's immediate feedback, and you don't get tired of waiting for when is it my turn next to kick the ball or to bat the ball. It's every second time. It's your turn. They're a little hesitant, and they've had a ton of questions for me over email. Say, sir, what about this? What about this? I said, just come down and try it and have fun.
Even the World Squash Federation are looking forward to seeing what Eric and his program do. So we're going to try to document it all as much as possible so that we're going to make it easier for other associations, other clubs, other countries to follow.
My last question for you. What are you hoping the participants get out of this?
I'm not hoping. I know the participants are going to find a whole new inner self. They're going to realize that there are no boundaries. I mean, the beauty about squash being in a room, and you can hit the ball off of any angles, and once they get that familiarity, they're going to realize that this game is only handicapped by your imagination, not by your mental or physical strengths.
Well, the grassroots program only has 4 people currently signed up, but organizers are hoping more people will join, both young and old. And these classes start tonight, and they run every Monday from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. Right here at the CBS Recreational Complex. Reporting live in CBS, I'm Meg Roberts for Here and Now.
What to do in the moments following a crash? An unexpected collision on Columbus Drive left some drivers wondering, what's the proper protocol?
And they're not alone. That story ahead.
The weather update is brought to you by Belltone Hearing Service St. John's, helping the world hear better.
Welcome back. Well, if you saw Colleen Connors, lots of snow on the west coast. Snow here in the St. John's area took a kind of a beating over the weekend with all that rain.
Yes.
Lots going on weather-wise.
For sure. Lots going on weather-wise.
Including visits from certain creatures. People across the province have been seeing animals coming up in some unusual places, and I don't know if the weather has anything to do with this, but there you go.
Look at that seal popped up in the parking lot of the hospital in Buren Saturday night. Karen Hollett says he kept her and her co-workers entertained for some time before the RCMP arrived to take it safely back to the water.
But not before Karen and her colleague could take a Sealfie.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's a groaner. Actually, from a distance, I thought it was a merbai before I got focused.
Not enough beer.
No, that's right.
Sealfie. Oh, that was good.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, that was good. I liked
So
it.
you have some more pictures to show us. You couldn't.
I do. Couldn't click it. I ran out of batteries right before.
That's how cold it is. Yeah. The batteries ran dead already.
If you take a look at that photo, so there's another one of a car half buried there in Hawke's Bay, Newfoundland.
That's the control part of the snowblower bars are just up above the snow.
Yeah, but I think it's buried too.
Yes, it is.
So that might be a little bit of an issue tonight. But the good news is it does look like things will eventually clear out. We are still seeing that low pressure system off the coast right now, but in behind it, that northwesterly flow. And if we zoom in a little bit, we can see that snow along the west coast. And like I said, things should start to taper off, especially for the west coast, but then start to move a little bit further east as we head through the night tonight. And those temperatures have dropped as well, sitting around -8 for Corner Brook, generally sitting in the minus single digits across most of Newfoundland up through Labrador. Much colder, so -23 in Lab City, -15 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and then along the coast as well. Now, those temperatures will continue to drop as we head through the night tonight. Wind chills as well, feeling closer to the -40s for parts of Labrador, and then the -teens, it looks like, for Newfoundland. So here's a look at those winds right now. These are sustained winds up along the coast, somewhere between 60 and 70 kilometers per hour for Labrador. And then we're going to start to see those winds climb as well for the northeast coast. Right now sitting at 60 in Twillingate, gusting closer to 90 and even 100 kilometers per hour in more exposed areas along the northeast coast as we head through the night tonight, as that low continues to pull away. So we do still have blizzard warnings in place along the coast of Labrador, winter storm warnings for the northern peninsula, and then blowing snow advisories down along the west coast, and anticipating that these should end within the next, I'd say, probably 4 hours as we continue to see that everything clear out. So, as I mentioned, overnight tonight, it looks like snow for Bonavista North, and then down through Bonavista and the northern portion of the Avalon as we head through the night tonight. Could pick up as much as 5 to 10 centimeters of snow for Bonavista North. Otherwise, it's looking like 2 to 5 centimeters by the time tomorrow morning rolls around. And then a ridge of high pressure moves in, clearing things out, which is good news, but it's going to return to some colder temperatures through parts of Labrador. Then late day, it looks like we'll start to see some snow move in for western Labrador. So if you take a look at the forecast for tonight, temperatures sitting in the minus single digits, going to dip down for Grand Falls, Windsor to about -15. Eventually, again, we will start to see some clearing for the northern peninsula and along the west coast by the time the morning rolls around. Otherwise, we're looking at just the chance of a few flurries, except around the Avalon and Bonavista North, where I mentioned anywhere from 2 to potentially 10 centimeters of snow. And with these winds, we're looking at blowing snow and reduced visibilities as well. Otherwise, cold for Labrador City, but clear, -35, -40 with that wind chill, and then those blizzard conditions eventually improving through the overnight as those winds die down. Tomorrow, plenty of sunshine as that high pressure moves in. Some lingering flurries expected along the northeast coast, again down through Gander as well, -9. Northwesterly winds near 70 kilometers per hour. Looks like blowing snow is possible through the afternoon. Otherwise, those winds will ease for the west coast, and then up through Labrador. Another beautiful day, but cold, -16 if you're planning on digging out, and then Lab City looking at that chance of flurries. So that's a look at your forecast. We'll look ahead, little midweek storm on the way. I'll have all those details. Deb?
Thanks, Ashley. When you hear about credit cards, it's usually a warning to pay them off quickly and not carry a balance. Those are legitimate cautions, but using credit cards can also provide some protection and freebies you might not know about. The CBC's Yvonne Colbert has the lowdown.
I'm not talking about collecting points. I'm talking about other benefits that can really add up. Instead of paying with debit, use your credit card to make purchases, then pay it off quickly and enjoy some additional protections. Did you know some credit cards double the manufacturer's warranty? That can save you money you might otherwise be convinced to spend on an extended warranty. Some provide price protection and will refund you as much as $100, up to as much as $500 a year if the price of your item drops within 60 days of purchase. Most insure items purchased on your credit card against loss, theft, and damage for a period of time. Some offer emergency travel insurance, delayed and lost baggage insurance, trip cancellation and flight delay insurance. Others offer late hotel checkout, something you're usually charged for. Each credit card is different and offers its own benefits. However, all of these freebies depend on making the purchase on your credit card. It's easy to see just what your credit card covers. Google it. The information is readily available. Some of these benefits can be real money savers. The problem is many people aren't aware of them.
If you witnessed a serious car accident, would you know what you're supposed to do? Well, just before Christmas, a taxi driver in St. John's recorded a crash on his dash cam. But the most interesting part of the video isn't the accident, it's what comes after. Here now's Zach Gowdy has more.
December 10th, at the intersection of Pennywell Road and Columbus Drive. Cab driver Joe White has his dash cam rolling, as always, and the person driving the blue car is about to be the victim of a serious collision. The light turns green. Fortunately, the driver is okay, at least enough to move out of the road. They were later treated at the scene. Dramatic as it is, it's a fairly ordinary car accident so far. But here's where it takes a turn. Look at the white van on the left. The driver had a clear view of the whole thing, but instead of getting out, he backs up, toots his horn at the crash victim, and drives away. We showed the clip to a personal injury lawyer who talks car crashes every day, but this was new to her.
It's a bit shocking, you know, like to back up and maneuver your way to just leave. I'm a bit surprised. Look at all these, though, wonderful people who are hurt. This is more common, right? For people to stop and help and see what they can do.
Let's see it again. The person in the white van isn't involved in the accident, so they have no legal obligation to remain at the scene. But they did have an unobstructed view of what happened. That means their statement could be invaluable to police, lawyers, insurance companies, and especially to the victim.
The person who was probably the best witness to this accident, besides our friend with the dash cam, has left without even checking to see if everybody is okay. So those eyewitnesses sometimes can be the only other evidence we can salvage, right? And so, you know, you'll see it in the paper. Sometimes people are looking for witnesses, or you'll see it tweeted out. Well, social media helps us with this a lot as well, looking for witnesses to accidents, and they can be very helpful.
So why would a person drive off after witnessing an accident? Hines says it doesn't happen often, and the driver of the white van may have had a reason. But maybe they just didn't want someone else's accident to crash into their day.
I would think that there is a certain segment of the population that are, you know, don't want to be bothered. I don't want to leave my name. I don't want to be called upon. I do not want to get involved. I just want to carry on with my business of the day. I don't have time for this right now. I'm sure that's an element of it. Everyone has their own little reason. I think that, though, being involved in a criminal investigation or an insurance investigation is not something people usually want to do.
Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
It would take a person a day to clear out a vehicle, or hours. We can do it in a few minutes. So we can go down the street very quickly.
Good Samaritan shovelers were out in force on Saturday.
Why were they digging people out? Well, don't go away.
Welcome back. A group of Good Samaritan shovelers took to the streets in St. John's on Saturday, determined to help people dig out. They went door to door, clearing driveways, lending their backs to people who hadn't had the chance yet to shovel out. The deed was organized by Project Kindness, a group that tries to inspire others to do good.
We had a dump of snow a few days ago, so I rallied a couple people in the community who just grabbed some shovels or snow blowers and said, let's go to some downtown areas that are buried and let's just help some neighbors get their vehicles or the driveways cleared up.
Some people just can't get out to do it. Some people are probably away on holidays. When they come back, hopefully now they'll see that their car is shoveled out or a driveway, so anything to do to help.
You know what, the goodwill is all there in the community. People want to do good things, and I keep hearing stories anyways of people mentioning that a neighbor or a stranger cleared their driveway. So I figured, why don't I just organize a bunch of people who are willing to do this, but they may not know their neighbors, or their neighbors could have taken care of themselves. So I said, let's go to a place where we know that, you know, there's a need, and let's help some of our fellow, neighbors out.
I know Hassan fairly well, but my New Year's resolution was to be a better citizen, and when I think of someone who promotes being a better citizen, he's the first person I think of. So I saw him put up a Facebook group and thought, if I can help out on a Saturday, why not?
It's great. It's a great day to be out. A little bit of exercise, not too backbreaking, but it's a good feeling to help your community.
It's been pretty fun. It's not as cold as I thought. The weather's cooperated. There's a lot of great people out. A couple of guys brought snow blowers, which has been a great help. Sped things up a lot. So we hit more than one neighborhood, which is a bonus. And I think we got probably one more to go after this, a couple more to go. It's great. Cleans it up before the rain comes. Oh, sorry, dude.
What I'm hoping is that people see this, they hear about it and say, hey, I can do something like this. And then they organize a bunch of neighbors themselves as they grab 2 or 3 people on their street, maybe their family, say, we're going to go down the street and help our neighbors clear it out. And if maybe they're already doing it, great. If they weren't already, maybe this is an inspiration to get started. No one enjoys shoveling snow, but when you're doing it as a team, it's really satisfying, and it builds community.
It builds muscle too, and the snow is really heavy. Now, staying with exercise, a little earlier in the show, you heard about a groundbreaking new sports program in Conception Bay South that's getting underway tonight. It's the country's first ever inclusive squash session. Reporter Meg Roberts is there. So, Meg, have you picked up any tips to strengthen your own game?
No, that I have not done, but I have met some really cool people. This is a really awesome opportunity. Like you mentioned, this is the start of the first ever inclusive squash program in Canada, and it's right here in CBS at the recreational complex. You can tell that the kids and the athletes are really learning a lot here. The coaches are talking them through, how to properly hold the racket, some of the guidelines and rules. And now I'm actually joined by a parent. Her son Patrick is in one of the rooms, and he's hitting the ball very hard against the wall. So Maureen, why was it important to get your son involved?
To get him out exercising, to help get over his anxiety, just get out in the community for some inclusion activities.
What do you hope he kind of gets out of this?
To make new friendship, to get a sense of community.
Are there a lot of opportunities that are available to him, or what kind are available to him?
Well, he has Special Olympics that he's involved in, and that is about it.
I noticed that you were speaking with him when he's coming off. He needed a drink of water. It was getting very hot in there. Was he saying that he was enjoying it?
He was. He's really enjoying it. He's very glad that he came out. A lot of coaxing to get him here, but we got him here, and he's enjoying it.
I'm sure he did have his apprehensions and his nervousness coming out here.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think he'll be back?
Absolutely. He's really enjoying it, and I think he's making a good friend already.
Oh. And so, as you can see behind me, we're doing the opening ceremonies right now. They're cutting the ribbon, and we only have about 4 students that are currently enrolled in this program, but organizers are looking for more of all ages, so it looks like it's going to be a really nice evening here. Reporting live in CBS, I'm Meg Roberts for Here and Now.
At the province's biggest bookstore, you'll find volumes of work from right around the world, but you'll also find locally published works as well. So what's it like being a small fish in a big publishing pond?
It's fabulous.
That's Gavin Will of Boulder Books. We'll chat after the break. And welcome back to Here and Now once again. Boulder Publications is taking on a new look and a new name in the new year. The company will now be called Boulder Books to better reflect its focus solely on books. I met up with the founder of Boulder, Gavin Will, at Chapters. So Gavin, thanks for meeting me here. You've got a new name, a new logo. What's prompted all of this?
Well, with Boulder Now Books has been in business for 17 years now. And it's been very successful, particularly over the last year or two. And basically we thought that it was time to put a new face, a new logo to the company to reflect its focus and the success that we've had.
Now, you are, Boulder Books is one of a handful of local publishers. You're competing against huge publishing houses, also independents who are self-publishing. How tough is it to be in the industry these days?
Well, it hasn't been lately. Book sales have been up across the board in Canada of Canadian authored books. And it's, and basically, I think that part of our success is the fact that we are a niche publisher. We're based here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Those are our roots. And people are looking for authenticity nowadays, and the type of books that we publish really address people's need for seeing authenticity.
When you say authenticity, give me an example. What are you talking about?
Well, a couple of titles that we published last year really come to mind. Saltwater Mittens, which is the book about knitting patterns from Newfoundland and Labrador, has done exceptionally well since it was released in October. We're now into our third printing of that title, and sales are stronger outside of Newfoundland for that particular title than actually within the province. Because people are looking for that kind of cultural authenticity, and it really touches a chord with people, not just here, but from elsewhere. And Newfoundland and Labrador, as we know, has been able to export its culture for quite some time. And this is another example of that.
And I understand you had success with wildflowers of the province?
Yes, we've really focused over the last few years on some of our field guides to wildflowers, edible plants, birds. There's a real need to reconnect with nature and also to reconnect with our heritage and our past. And those books in particular have done extremely well because this is what people are looking for. And we're going to keep on doing that in the future.
And we hear about people will say, well, books are going the way of newspapers, but from what you're saying, that's a big myth.
It is a big myth. There's a huge difference between I guess the rise of the digital age and how it's affected newspapers and how it's affected books. And so we've seen that book sales have actually increased. They did take a small dip with ebooks, but they haven't really had any discernible effect particularly on local publishers.
So you had a good year last year. You're releasing some new books in 2019. How excited are you for the upcoming year?
Oh, we got some fabulous books coming up. Topping the list is 18 Souls, The Loss and Legacy of Cooper 491 by one of your colleagues, Rod Etheridge. And this book is going to be examining basically the aftermath of that disaster, its effects on people. So that's one title we're looking forward to. We're also going to be releasing Stouts, Millers, and Forky Tales. The Insects of Newfoundland and Labrador is going to be a wonderful book.
Well, that sounds like you've got an eclectic mix coming up for 2019. Thank you very much, Gavin.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
A Canadian made history last night. Sandra Oh is the first Asian actor to ever host the Golden Globe Awards. She was also among those winning for a starring role.
I'd like to thank my mother and my father. Oma, Appa, 사랑해요.
A profound honor.
Thank you to Satan for giving me inspiration on how to play this role.
Now, the biggest surprise of the night was Bohemian Rhapsody winning Best Drama. Rami Malek was named Best Actor for his role as singer Freddie Mercury, and another movie about a musician, Green Book, won Best Comedy. Notably absent was the most hyped musical saga, A Star is Born, and it only took home the award for Best Song. Also going home disappointed were box office hits Crazy Rich Asians and Black Panther.
And Oscar-winning actor Kevin Spacey occasionally nodded but said very little at a pre-trial hearing today in a courtroom in Nantucket, Massachusetts. The 59-year-old is charged with assault and battery against an 18-year-old busboy at a bar on the island in July of 2016. Spacey did not enter a plea today but signed an affidavit pleading not guilty last month. Today's proceeding was mostly about preserving text messages and photo evidence drawn from communication between the alleged victim and his girlfriend. Spacey's lawyer believes that evidence will benefit his client. If convicted, the actor faces up to 5 years in prison and must register as a sex offender.
Escape rooms have become pretty popular over the past several years for events such as birthday parties and team building in certain companies. But the deaths of 5 teenagers in an escape room in Poland is raising questions now about safety here in Canada. The CBC's Talia Ricci reports.
Please play safe, play smart, no dangerous or play inside.
Escape rooms create the illusion of being trapped or locked in. But it was all too real for those teenage girls in Poland.
This is something that should never have happened. It's very upsetting, and hopefully this will make owners in North America examine their safety systems a little better.
I'm gonna have to check on this. I'll be right back.
Escape rooms have exploded in popularity over the last few years, with hundreds popping up across Canada. The player's mission? To solve puzzles, often while fending off eerie foes. Sean Fishstein runs a large escape room and says part of his mission is to push for more regulations.
We can see where every customer is, and if a customer is not where they should be, we're on it within seconds.
But not everyone is so safety conscious.
What we don't necessarily see is people going above and beyond to ensure an extra layer of safety.
In many escape rooms across Canada, there's usually a setup something like this, where game masters will monitor the players through closed-circuit cameras so that they can offer the players clues but also ensure that they're staying safe. Serious designers don't cut corners.
When I'm designing escape rooms, I try to ensure that everything that goes into the game will be safe for the players. So no flammable items, no dangerous items, no sharp items. I try to keep everything fairly low tech.
Andrew Parr has designed games for hundreds of escape rooms across the world and says one important thing has changed during the industry's growth spurt.
When I first played a few escape rooms about 2015, I was locked in and we had to find a key to get out of the room. And it wasn't long after that, just a few months, early mid 2015, I noticed that all games had the rooms unlocked.
If you're game to play, there are some crucial questions you should ask.
Is it locked, and is there another way out that's not locked? Are there multiple exits to the building if the building is over a certain size? Never engage in an activity where you're physically restrained, handcuffed, or bound to an object or a prop, or blindfolded.
He says as someone who's escaped rooms around the globe, Canada's are among the safest. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, not a whole lot happening outside on the Avalon right now. The winds are going to pick up tonight. Looking at a dusting of snow, maybe a couple of centimeters by the time the morning rolls around. Midweek, looks like we could see some more rain. I'll have all those details coming up.
Welcome back, and before we get to the weather, we have something pretty interesting. It's a really good news story. You'll recognize his voice, but you might do a double take when you see his face.
Yeah, last month, Shanneganuk frontman Chris Andrews wagered his whiskers to help buy a wheelchair-accessible van.
Yeah, and on Saturday, he stayed true to his word. Andrews puts a $25,000 bounty on his beard for 11-year-old Jess Stamp-Hillier. She has Rett syndrome and uses a wheelchair and needs a van.
And thanks to a last-minute $11,000 donation from the man behind Mary Brown's Restaurants, Andrews hit his target, and on Saturday, the old razor came out.
Apparently, he'd only shaved once in the last 2 decades, but he says this time was well worth it. The family needs, now, I'm looking at this script, needing about $15,000 more to be able to purchase the van.
That works with the wheelchair because they sort of go together.
Excellent. The beard money is certainly going to help, and Andrew says he's already growing his signature look back.
And
probably finds it very cold.
He must find it
was
cold,
gonna
actually,
say.
especially this time of year. The beard usually provides some human insulation.
Needs to have a mask. Yeah.
So he could use it with, you said there's weather coming?
Some cold. We're going to see a ridge of high pressure move in tomorrow, which is going to keep things clear. But with that, always we're going to see those cold temperatures. But looking ahead, it does look like another system's going to move in through the day on Wednesday. Right now, it's looking like we could see everything move in later on in the day, especially down through the south coast, Burin Peninsula. And we could see some mixing as this system continues to track a little bit further north, especially for the Avalon and then parts of central as well. Otherwise, we should see some snow in behind that system, at least the first one on Wednesday. So here's a look at the forecast temperatures sitting in the minus single digits, a little bit warmer than what we're going to see tomorrow as it moves forward and that ridge of high pressure moves out. Up through Labrador, temperatures sitting near seasonal, but minus 12 for Happy Valley Goose Bay. That's actually a little bit above seasonal for this time of year, should be sitting around minus 17. And then Lab City, going to look at that chance of flurries through the day and sitting around minus 11. Now, looking ahead, as I mentioned, Wednesday overnight into Thursday is when we're going to see the next round of weather move in. So right now what I'm thinking for the Avalon is it'll likely be either a rain-snow mix or ice pellets, and then change through to freezing rain and then to rain through the day on Thursday. As those temperatures climb up, we get more into a southerly flow. For the rest of Newfoundland, we're looking at that chance of flurries through the day. Could see accumulations right now showing about 10 centimeters, maybe 15 in some cases. And then up through Labrador as well, we're going to see that snow push further north, and it's going to continue through the day on Thursday. A little bit of a break Thursday evening, and then another round of weather moves in for Friday. And it looks like it's going to be quite busy as we head through the next couple of days, not really seeing much of a break as far as weather goes, maybe just some cloudy periods through the day on, or rather through the rest of the week. So here's a look at your 5-day forecast. We're going to see windy conditions tomorrow for St. John's, particularly the northern Avalon and parts of the northeast coast up through Bonavista North tomorrow. Windy with that chance of flurry, so could see some blowing snow. Temperatures sitting around minus 6. Wednesday will clear out, and then that next system will move in again. Likely going to see a wintry mix, ice pellets, freezing rain over to rain as that temperature climbs up to about 3 degrees. And then Friday and Saturday look unsettled with that chance of flurries and back down below 0. Central Newfoundland looks like everything should fall as snow, maybe some mixing in with rain for towards the eastern portions of the province, but otherwise just flurries right through Saturday. And then same thing for Western Newfoundland. Temperatures back around seasonal, dipping down to the minus double digits overnight on Friday. Up through Labrador, it looks sunny right through Wednesday, and then we'll see that system move in. Temperatures sitting around a little bit above seasonal, minus 9, minus 10 on Friday. And then Western Labrador, same thing, but a little bit cooler, especially as we head towards the end of the week. We'll get back into an Arctic ridge of high pressure, which is going to drop those temperatures down to about minus 21 by the time Saturday rolls around. So that's your forecast. I will have your weather photo when I come back. Deb?
Thanks, Ashley. This next video could have been taken in Canada. But it is actually Germany's Bavarian Alps, where thrill seekers gathered yesterday to race horned wooden sleds. Those sleds are modeled after the shape of a local mountain goat's horn. It's a tradition that dates back to the 70s, and despite the rickety look of the sleds, some hit speeds approaching 100 kilometers an hour.
Pretty fast. We'll stay with cold sports, but something a little bit slower. A group of curlers in Nova Scotia added a new twist to a very old game. The Liverpool Curling Club held its first annual Pride Spiel on Saturday. The game was a show of support for a woman who was at the center of a controversy this past summer. A cafe owner in Liverpool wanted to enter a pride float in an annual parade. It was a float that featured a group of drag queens, including her son. Now, she withdrew the float after a backlash, but online support prompted her to push forward. Organizers at this weekend's curling match say they wanted to spread the message that everyone is welcome.
Wow, look at that beautiful photo. The calm before the storm.
That is nice. You got anything, Cooper?
No.
It's understandable. It's kind of hard to tell. Well, I'll tell you where this shot was
Bay
taken.
of Islands? I don't know.
No.
No. Okay.
No, that's okay.
I'm done.
Good guess. I'll have all those details when I come back. So I promised we have our viewer weather photo, but I wanted to show you this one from before, the photo of the snowblower there. I had someone comment already and say, they just left the snowblower, said, that's it, I'm getting on a plane and leaving.
That's actually plausible.
I think so too.
I'm sure it crossed many people's minds when they had to dig out.
Except when it's beautiful like this, right? You get those gorgeous shots there.
So it's not the West Coast?
It's not the West Coast, no. It is in Kings Point, actually.
Ah, up north.
Up north, yeah. Beautiful shot there. Sent in from Joyce Rideout. Gorgeous shot there, yeah. Calm before the storm there. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with them, we'd love to see them. Any storm photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
And don't forget the good ones like that.
Absolutely.
So that we're not crying.
Pretty ones as well.
That's right.
All right, well that's great. And that's it for us. Beginning, I can't believe it's January 7th already.
I know.
Quickly. Did you get all the decorations put away?
No, that's coming up soon. Have a great night, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Good night.